Among the tidbits I've found are 4 people implicating Brigham Young. James Gemmell. He claims he was in the office when Hamblin was there, and he said to Hamblin, Brigham Young said to Hamblin, "If I were you, I'd kill him." Now, James Gemmell was a good polygamist Mormon. He had to protect himself after this. He had to remove himself from sight. That's his words. Huntington's diary. It describes Brigham Young, quote, giving the cattle to the Indians. Now, for the cattle to get the Indians, it's just a euphemism for saying attack the wagon trains. Then we have 2 Indians who say Huntington brought a note saying, "Have at it." Those 2 were Toche, T-O-U-C-H-E, and Jackson. And they both tell the same story. Hamblin gives testimony that implicates Brigham Young after the fact. Or you've got Klingensmith saying that he gave a report to Brigham Young in October. John D. Lee says he did it in September. So it's not difficult to implicate Brigham Young in a cover-up after the fact. But the 4 I gave you implicate him in the fact. But Brigham Young, he says he doesn't know anything ever. Leonard Turley Walker want to exonerate Dame and therefore exonerate George A. Smith and then Brigham Young by saying, that they weren't in control of that. That was all Lee and Haight and Higbee arguing. Avenge the blood of the prophets on this people and nation. It gets into polygamy, and it gets into blood atonement, it gets into the endowment ceremony and its oaths. This is how the Mountain Meadow Massacre happened. It's part of the cake recipe. What I'm going to go on to now is the 30 Mormons that walked with this train down to Cedar City from Salt Lake, off and on. Mormons traveling with the wagon train. Eli Kelsey, William Hyde, David Carter. Apostates join at Springville. Apostates join at Payson. Anna Webb, George Adair, James Pierce. John Hawley, we can trust him. Eli Kelsey, we can trust him. George Powers wasn't a Mormon. Thomas Cropper. Julia F. Thompson. Robert Kershaw, the husband of Thompson. Rufus Allen. Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. They were disfellowshipped for trading a cheese ball with the immigrants. They were disfellowshipped. William Laney, almost beaten to death for giving an onion to someone that helped him. Silas Smith, Jesse N. Smith, Joseph Walker, Thomas Cartwright, Carl Schertz, Mrs. Hamblin, Elliot Wilden, Amos Thornton, David Westwood. He was a teenager. He didn't murder anyone. He was 15 years old and was called out there to bury him. You've heard that story, right? Okay, David Westwood, well, that's about sums it up. We got apostates joining at Springville and at Payson. And David Westwood says he recognized some of them. Anna Hogue testifies to apostates. We have William Laney beaten, the Morgans excommunicated, and no one ever said to these people, like when George A. Smith was camping with them, no one said, "Hey, why are you picking on us? Why are you poisoning and snapping the heads off of chickens and threatening us all the time?" No one said a word. In fact, the people I've just read to you, many of them have nothing but good things to say. Some of those people were the murderers of those immigrants. The murderers do have bad things to say, but only the murderers. Not one of these people I've read to you that isn't a murderer has anything bad to say about the immigrants. And I just read you about 30 names.